Yo, my name is Bilal.Erra. Welcome to the channel. I'm 19 years old. I run a seven-figure agency that I, created less than a year ago. We've scaled it up to the point where it's at now. Ultimately, this is the first video on this YouTube channel. I'm going to be discussing, the whole journey from start to finish on, how I got to where I'm at today. What is it that I do? How I do it? Why I'm so good at it? And how you could potentially do the same. Evidently, my story is pretty unique. It's a little bit different. It's not your typical story. I started out, with immigrant parents from Morocco who don't necessarily believe in the online space at all. They just push education and school and this, that, and the third. And so I'm an academically highly achieving student. I've always had, 4.0, and I've been in the, advanced classes and whatnot. And I always saw myself in the direction of like comp sci or like studying cybersecurity, whatever it may be. That was kind of just my vision until about 2 years ago when I finished high school. And I got in this really serious motorcycle accident that put me, out of office for about a month. I couldn't necessarily do much. I missed my orientation for school, for college actually. And it caused me to withdraw out of university and move into a full online university that isn't necessarily as highly accredited. And it really just made me a little bit unsure about this whole academic journey that I was on. And I didn't necessarily align with the vision of, graduating college, working, a 9 to 5, working up the corporate ladder just to make 100K, a year, or 200K a year, even 300K a year. It just wasn't appealing to me. No matter what it was that I was getting paid, working that corporate ladder, having to talk to managers and, all these guys that are just stuck up, they think they're better than you. It just wasn't appealing to me. And, it took me through like a mental spiral where it was like everything that I grew up knowing, everything that I grew up believing just seemed like a falsehood, right? It just seemed like everything just wasn't what it seemed. I mean, my dad had worked so hard to get to where he was at, and, he's making 6 figures, but it's like 6 figures isn't even enough, right? And it's like you're just working all day, all night, and then you come home and, you're not going to be in the best mood. You're not going to have the best lifestyle. And it just wasn't something that was appealing to me. I told myself since a little kid, I'd rather make 3K a month working for myself than make 10K a month working for someone else. There's a sense of freedom and there's a sense of liberation when it comes to working by yourself. It's like, I know if I can make 3K for myself, I can turn that into 30K. I can turn it to 100K a month, but if I'm making 3K for a corporation or 10K for a corporation, that's my salary, right? That's what's on contract. And the scalability of that is something that, is arguable, right? You have to argue to scale. I deserve 15K or whatever it may be. But evidently, whether I know or whether I don't know about the industry, I came to the conclusion that it's not for me, right? I don't want to work hard to reach that industry. I don't want to see that industry. I don't want to be a part of that industry. I want to work for myself and I want to be successful by myself. And I know that there are ways to do it. At the time I talked to my brother, I stumbled upon high ticket sales. Like the whole high ticket industry. I learned that there's a lot of younger guys at my age that are making decent money doing it. And it was just something that was super fascinating for me. So I invested a lot of time and a lot of money to learn about the industry. At that time, throughout the money that I invested, I mastered high ticket sales. And this is just gonna be a quick summary. I can dive a little bit deeper into my experience in high ticket sales later on, but I mastered high ticket sales. I spent a year in high ticket sales. And I climbed up, from a cold caller to a DM setter to, ultimately a closer later on. And I made, a decent amount of money. I hit my first 10K month, my first 20K month. And I was all 18 years old at the time, but it was still trading my time for money, right? And this is maybe something that, a lot of people don't like to say or admit, but high ticket sales is still just a job, right? Like you're still just, you're trading 8 hours a day to make significantly more money from your house, right? But there's also jobs that make a lot more money, working less hours from your house that, if you had a degree, you would achieve. And so like, I'm just sitting there kind of confused. It's like a lot of these guys strive to be in high ticket sales, but it's just not what it was for me. It's not like, it didn't have much, substance, for me. I didn't really have that obsession with it. I had the obsession of making money. That's something that I've had since a little kid. And that's what got me into trading, and that's, what took me into this whole world of business at a young age. But that obsession of making money and that obsession of, closing just weren't at the same level. And so for me, I started thinking like, okay, how can I leverage, my knowledge? How can I, leverage my experience and my education, right? But not have to leverage my time. And so evidently, I learned, high ticket scaling and learning, how to scale businesses and systems and foundations. And it also, since I'm still in school online doing cybersecurity, I knew, had a little bit of tech knowledge from, just that. And so the biggest thing for me was just like, I don't want to continue leveraging my time for money. I know that, evidently if I want to get to 100K a month, I don't, 24 hours in a day isn't merely enough at the pace that I'm going at. And ultimately I've always, been the guy to have these super high, unachievable, quote unquote goals, right? Where it's like, dude, you tell that to some random dude on the street, they'll laugh at you. I talked to my parents about it, and they just think it's just, oh, this kid's just fucking stupid, right? This kid's just dumb, right? Like he's unrealistic. He doesn't, he doesn't have a brain. Like he's just spewing shit. And evidently, it's like I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I genuinely believe, yes, I can get to 100K a month. I can do 200, 300, 400, 500 a month. Right? And that deep sense of belief that I have in myself is something that's allowed me to get to where I'm at today, where it's like, hey, Mom, we are doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, we are able to do 100K a month. What's next? Are we going to do 200? Are we going to do 300, 400? Like, when does it cap? And the thing is, it doesn't cap. Where it caps is, where your belief stops. And my belief will never stop. I'm sure that I can get to these goals that I have. And evidently, if my goal is to not even make money and just, have a happy family, that's what I will do. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. But that leads me to this next thing of like, a lot of guys come to me and they're like, hey, what is it that helped you become successful? It's like, dude, if you don't know what it is that you want, or you don't know what your target is, or you don't know what your goal is, how are you ever going to fucking reach it? Right? You can't just work aimlessly and not have a target. You're just going to go spend your money on partying and doing all this and that. You don't have a goal. You don't have a target. You don't have something that you need to reach. And so the biggest thing for you is like, if you're in a position now where you're not necessarily doing the things that you want to do, you're not running that business, you know that you're capable of it, you know that you want to do it, but you're not doing it, right? You have to dumb it down to, okay, why do you want to run that business? Why is it important for you to run that business? What would running that business and making a ton of money allow you to do? And if you don't have a purpose behind it that's deep enough, that actually touches your heart and makes you say, hey, this is something that I have to do in this life, dude, just fucking throw it away, bro. Because you're never going to get there. Every person that I know that is super, super, super successful at a young age has either deep pain or has a deep passion for what they're doing, right? And they know exactly where they want to go. If you don't know any of that, you don't have a deep pain. And it doesn't have to be a pain in terms of like, something that happened to you that's tragic. It could just be a deep pain point where it's like, you have to prove it to yourself, right? But if you don't have these goals, you don't have these targets in mind, what are we working towards? What are these 12, 14, 16-hour days going towards? Just nothing? So you have to really dumb it down to, okay, this is my goal. This is why I need to reach this. Now I need to find a vehicle I can get into to go ahead and reach this, right? And that vehicle can't be capped, right? But you can ride a vehicle from 0 to 10K in the online space. And honestly, I would just recommend you get into high ticket setting, right? And then you can find a vehicle to jump off, which is high ticket closing, go from 10K to 20K a month, right? But from there, it's like, we got to make a jump, right? And that jump is, hey, do you want to continue making 20K a month or 15K a month, whatever it may be, for a long duration? And that could be okay if you're stacking bread to, come into a different business investment, but you got to know exactly what you want. And that's where a lot of people lose themselves. It's like, hey, I'm closing, I'm doing this, but I'm still trading 8 to 10 hours a day of my life, on these calls to make this money, right? And so for you, it's like, what's the next step? And evidently that's exactly the point that I was at before I started my agency. But now, thankfully, it's like, we've been able to, implement our systems. We've been able to do, build out some really, really, really amazing sales teams and train them up to a point where it's, they're literally the best in the industry, right? Highest close rates, they're collecting the most cash off the least amount of leads. And it's something that we really pride ourselves on. I feel a deep sense of gratitude every time I look back at, how far I've came from the last year to where I'm at today. But evidently, it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of long nights. And I knew exactly where I wanted to go. I didn't necessarily know how I was going to get there, right? And I didn't necessarily know exactly what vehicle it would be, but I had a vision, and that vision is what drove me to where I'm at today. And I had the discipline and the focus and the self-belief to actually stick it through, right? That's where a lot of people fail. People get into e-com, right? They don't have that first 10K month in the first 2-3 months, and then they give up and they say, hey, I'm going to get into trading. And then they get into trading and they lose a couple grand, and then they say, hey, I'm going to go to Amazon FBA. Right? But if you can have a vision, I'm going to run this online business, I'm going to be in this industry, right? And you stick stick it through, go through the milestones, reach this goal, reach the next goal, and just continue working hard at it, evidently you're going to be successful. There's no way you're not. If you have a vision, you stick hard to it, and you work, and you stay focused, like there's no way. You can't tell me anyone who's done that hasn't been successful. You look at Mark Zuckerberg, that picture of him sitting at the desk. I mean, dude, that's a long night, right? He had the vision and he fucking stayed consistent. And that's where he's at today, right? If you don't have that obsession for what it is that you're doing, you need to jump ship. You're not going to be able to scale that, to a point where you are super, super successful. But yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit of insight into like, kind of my journey. It started in high ticket sales, and, I ultimately found out that I was going to be capped evidently. And I kind of just jumped ship into, head first into the agency, and I really, took it by storm, is the best way I can kind of describe it. But the way I was able to is because I spent so much time and focus in what I was doing. I was genuinely obsessed. I wanted to be the best closer. I wanted to be the best setter. And I did become the best setter and the best closer. And I can transfer those skills into the people that I train, into the sales teams that, I work with. And it allows me to take my offers so much further than someone who just knows systems, or someone who just, thinks they know an offer, whatever it may be. But you can bring in all the leads that you want. You can run all the paid ads that you want. But if your back-end conversion system, which is your sales team, can't convert, I mean, you're just going to be sitting there, wasting a bunch of money and just complaining about, how you're not collecting enough cash and your margins are too slim. Thankfully, I mean, we're in a position now where, we've leveraged the market so well that clients kind of started coming to us, and we're scaling, really well right now. So I just want to bring you guys on the journey. I'm going to give you guys all the different resources that I utilize. I'll show you guys Loom videos into how, I develop my creatives. We have a 3 creative system that we run, not a 3 creative system, but a 3 campaign system that we run for Monetizer. And I'll show you guys exactly how to run that ad system on Meta. And it's super highly converting. It's like 6 to 10 ROAS proven. When we run it on ecom, it's like 10 to 20 ROAS. So it's a system that, might help you out in your business. So I'll give you guys that system. I'll give you guys setting scripts, closing scripts, the whole 9. So stick around. I'm going to make a lot more videos. This is just the beginning. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, throw them in the comments below. Go ahead, follow my Instagram. It's going to be in the description. And then go ahead and subscribe right now. We're going to be on a long journey this year of 2025. I have a lot more content planned, a lot more content coming. Super excited for it. Sorry if this video is a little bit too long or too cringy. Bear with me. I'm cringing too. I never, thought I'd be, pushing out a personal brand or whatever you want to call it. But evidently it's like, I'm so good at what I do, and we've been able to help and change so many lives. But it doesn't matter how good you are if people don't know how good you are. And so this is just kind of me putting myself out there. I want to help out a lot of you guys get pretty good at this too. And yeah, this is just the beginning. So I'll go ahead and catch you guys. I'm going to head to bed. Got a long day ahead, a bunch of meetings. So yeah, let's get to this money, boys. Peace.